Imagine building an entire engineering department, a full data processing team, and like a fully automated sales pipeline.
Yeah, which usually takes a whole company to do.
Right. Now imagine doing all of that entirely from scratch in exactly 25 days.
It's honestly hard to even wrap your head around.
It really is. Welcome to today's deep dive. Today, we are looking at this absolutely mind-bending personal markdown log from a solo developer who did exactly that using Claude Code AI.
The sheer velocity documented in this primary source, I mean, it really challenges everything we know about software development.
Oh, 100%.
We are looking at this hyper-detailed blueprint outlining how one individual basically produced the operational output of a mid-sized tech company. And this was all just between March 5th and March 30th, 2026.
Just 25 days. And, if you are listening to this right now and you've ever felt constrained by a lack of time or resources, or maybe you just don't have team members to get your ideas off the ground.
Which is pretty much everyone, right?
Exactly. Our mission today is to really pull apart the architecture of this 25-day sprint. We want to understand the exact mechanisms of how you can apply this massive level of human leverage to your own work.
Because it's not magic, it's just systems.
Right. Okay, let's unpack this. Because before you can build dozens of web apps and, process terabytes of data, you need an infrastructure.
Yeah, you definitely can't just open a laptop and start typing Python manually to hit these numbers.
No way. You have to build a system that basically writes the code for you.
And what's fascinating here is that the foundation of this entire sprint is something this freelancer called an Agentic OS.
Right, an operating system for agents.
Exactly, and it's built on the WAT framework, which stands for Workflows, Agents, and Tools. The documentation shows they engineered 169 distinct Python tools.
169 tools in just a few days. That's wild.
It is, but the critical mechanism here isn't just like having a folder full of scripts. It's the orchestration of it all.
Meaning how the AI actually uses them.
Yeah. The AI operates within this continuous evaluation loop. So it receives a really complex goal, analyzes the situation, and then selects the appropriate Python tool from that toolkit of 169.
Like a carpenter picking the right saw.
Exactly. It executes it, reads the terminal output, and then decides the next step entirely without human intervention.
So they essentially hired an army of highly competent digital workers. But, autonomous agents are sort of notorious for drifting off task, right?
Oh yeah, they get stuck in loops all the time.
Right. So to prevent these digital workers from just running off the rails, the log details the creation of 65 reusable skills.
Which is super smart.
Yeah, they act as these strict behavioral blueprints that the AI must follow. And to actually enforce those skills, they implemented a 4-level hierarchical rule system.
Global, project, local, and subfolder rules, right? Think of it like a corporate chain of command, The global rules dictate the overall mission and the brand voice.
Like the company-wide handbook.
Yeah. And as you move down the hierarchy, the project rules define the specific app they're building. Local rules manage the component logic, and then the subfolder rules enforce the exact coding standards for just that specific directory.
So the agent is constantly getting reminded of what it's supposed to be doing.
Right. The agent's context window is constantly injected with these cascading constraints. That is how you prevent an autonomous system from hallucinating during a complex multi-day build. It's just constantly reminded of its boundaries.
Makes total sense. And if they do hit a roadblock, the freelancer set up something called stochastic multi-agent consensus.
That's a mouthful.
It really is. Basically, they could spawn 5 or more distinct AI instances, have them debate a complex coding problem, and then converge on the best solution before writing a single line of code.
It's like a digital boardroom.
Yeah. But let's clarify that word stochastic for a moment, because they are intentionally introducing randomness into the AI's generation parameters, which sounds, kind of counterintuitive when you want precise code.
Well, actually, that injected randomness is the secret to autonomous problem solving.
Wait, really? How so?
Think about it. If you have 5 identical agents with the exact same parameters facing a software bug, they will all just suggest the exact same flawed solution.
Oh, right, because they're basically the same brain.
Exactly. By making the generation stochastic or random, you force diverse analytical approaches. Like, one agent might tackle the bug from a memory allocation perspective, while another looks at network latency.
So they come at it from different angles.
Yeah, they debate, they grade each other's logic, and the mathematical consensus they reach is vastly superior to a single agent's initial guess.
That multi-agent setup is brilliant, but an army of digital workers is basically useless if they have amnesia.
Oh, for sure. They need memory.
Right. To make independent decisions that actually matter to this freelancer's specific life and business, they needed access to historical context. Which brings us to the memory architecture.
The second brain.
Exactly. The freelancer built a massive enterprise org platform from scratch. And, this isn't just a simple text search bar. This system has 89 separate components.
89. That is an enterprise-grade build.
It is. It's multimodal, meaning it's digesting PDFs, Word documents, images, audio, and video. They parsed 178,582 past conversations.
Wow.
Yeah, and classified over 174,000 emails, threading all of it into a perfectly searchable database.
And the unit economics of processing that much history are just staggering. The log notes that classifying all 174,000 of those emails using AI batch processing cost the freelancer under $9.
Under $9, that's less than a fast food lunch.
Seriously, you were paying fractions of a cent to do what a human archivist would take months or even years to organize?
That is wild, but here's where it gets really interesting, and I have to push back a little bit on the logistics here.
Okay, let's hear it.
With 178,000 conversations, over 174,000 email, and 89 distinct ARGOG components pulling all this unstructured data together, how does the system not just completely hallucinate?
That is the big question.
Right. Usually if you dump that much noise into a database, the retrieval mechanism degrades. It just starts feeding the agent irrelevant nonsense, which then corrupts the code it tries to write.
Yeah, amateur setups experience that exact retrieval degradation because they rely on, naive semantic search. But the source document explicitly outlines the mechanisms they use to solve this.
So they didn't just dump it all in a bucket.
No, not at all. They built in strict mathematical evaluation metrics, specifically targeting a faithfulness score, which they actually optimized to 0.857.
Meaning the system is continuously running a secondary agent to grade the primary agent's answers against the raw source material, like ensuring it doesn't just invent details.
Precisely. The RAG architecture here uses a hybrid retrieval mechanism, so it's combining keyword density with vector similarity.
Okay, that makes sense.
And on top of that, they added enterprise-level tracing and automated PII redaction.
Oh, to strip out sensitive personal info.
Exactly, before it ever hits the generation layer. So when the agent needs context on a past client to write a proposal, it pulls the exact email threads, the invoice history, and the project notes with flawless accuracy. It's essentially an instantly accessible second brain.
That's incredible. So once that flawless internal memory was secured, the freelancer just unleashed this digital brain on the outside world.
And the numbers here are insane.
The numbers in this next section of the log are just wild. They built file indexing tools that organized 1.88 million files across 11.1 terabytes of storage.
11 terabytes.
Yeah. And it automatically found 1.3 terabytes of duplicates.
The mechanism behind that duplicate finding goes far beyond just looking at file names. The system uses hashing algorithms driven by the AI to compare the actual binary contents of the file.
So it knows it's the same file, even if it's named something totally different.
Exactly. It identifies identical assets even if they were renamed or buried in some nested folder a decade ago.
That's so useful. They also built a YouTube AI engine.
Oh, this part was cool.
Yeah, this pipeline tracks 105 videos across 67 different channels. It automatically transcribes them, extracts key takeaways, generates flowcharts, and then builds interactive HTML dashboards with clickable timestamps.
I think the log said they generated over 110 of these dashboards.
Yep, over 110. Plus, they developed an entire suite of academic research tools, like an AI paper explorer, PDF tools that convert dense research into structured study guides.
And video tools too, right?
Right. They even deployed social media community monitors tracking 37 different forums to auto-generate draft replies.
And to understand how all of this external data ingestion was physically executed in just 25 days, we really have to look at the velocity metrics in the source.
Yeah, let's talk about the speed.
At their peak, the freelancer was running up to 7 parallel AI coding sessions simultaneously.
Okay, that's the part that makes me highly skeptical. 7 parallel coding sessions at once.
Yeah.
How does a local machine or even an API limit not just completely crash under the weight of that?
It sounds like it should crash, yeah.
We're talking massive token limits and context window exhaustion here.
Well, the log indicates a masterful management of context routing. The freelancer wasn't just feeding the entire 11 terabyte database into the context window for every single prompt.
Oh, okay. That would break everything.
Exactly. They used the Agentic OS to spawn lightweight, task-specific agents. So one session is running a Python script to index the 1.88 million files locally.
While another is doing something
Right.
else.
Another is asynchronously calling the YouTube API to download transcripts. A third is running a financial risk analysis pipeline with cluster jobs on a remote server.
Ah, I see.
The API calls are staggered, and the local compute is primarily just orchestrating the traffic.
So they drastically collapsed the time required for data processing by basically decoupling human typing speed from system output.
Exactly. They aren't waiting for a progress bar to finish.
They are just spinning up a new worker for the next category while the first 6 finish their jobs. Which brings us to the output.
The fun part.
Yeah. Having the infrastructure, having the perfectly organized 11 terabytes, and the 110 YouTube dashboards, I mean, that is all incredibly impressive. But technology for the sake of technology is just a hobby.
Right. It needs an application.
Exactly. How did the freelancer actually apply this to generate real-world value?
Well, the ultimate test of any agentic system is its utility, right? And this entire sprint culminated in a fully automated software factory.
A literal factory.
Yeah, in those 25 days, they built 35 fully functional web apps using a web app builder.
35 separate usable applications. We're talking financial tools and dashboards, task managers with Kanban boards, subscription trackers, travel planners, CV builders.
But the crown jewel, from a business standpoint, is the freelance pipeline.
Oh man, the sales pipeline.
The architecture of that pipeline is a masterclass in autonomous lead generation.
It really is. They engineered a system that scans an online freelance marketplace every 15 minutes. Nonstop. It uses an AI scoring engine to evaluate new job postings, decides if it's a high match for the freelancer's skills, and then automatically generates custom proposals and fully fleshed out HTML technical blueprints to send to the client.
It's doing the whole sales pitch.
But how exactly does that scoring engine work without just blindly spamming every client on the job board?
Well, it connects directly back to the Arga database we discussed earlier.
The second brain.
Exactly. When the agent pulls a new job posting, it runs those requirements against the Arget system, which contains all the freelancers' past successful projects, their 65 skills, and their repository of 169 tools.
So it's cross-referencing everything.
Right. It mathematically calculates a similarity match. So if the job requires a specific back-end architecture, and the database proves the freelancer has built that exact architecture before, the confidence score spikes.
And only then does it draft the proposal.
Exactly. It's highly targeted.
And that proposal isn't some generic template either. It includes a custom technical blueprint generated on the fly. And that's not even counting the 22 cron automations running constantly in the background.
Oh yeah, those scheduled scripts. They're basically the invisible operational glue holding the entire ecosystem together.
They're running autonomously on local machines and virtual private servers. We are talking about WhatsApp bots, sending daily morning digests to community groups, automated video uploaders, pushing content, nightly file cleanups, and, subscription renewal alerts.
It's a whole company's worth of operations.
So what does this all mean? When a single freelancer is operating a 247 sales pipeline, an automated video generation studio, an academic research hub, and a software factory entirely by themselves,
It's crazy to even say out loud.
how should you, the listener, conceptualize your own career?
Honestly, this fundamentally redefines the concept of human leverage. By delegating the mundane, repetitive elements of business operations, finding leads, sending emails, scheduling scripts, organizing files to the Agentic OS, the freelancer elevated their own role entirely.
Right. The 169 tools and the cascading rule systems are doing all the busy work.
Exactly.
The human being gets to spend 100% of their time on high-level strategy, system design, and creative direction.
The AI formats the proposal in seconds based on the scoring engine, but the human decides which freelance marketplace to target in the first place.
That's the key difference.
Right. The AI writes the boilerplate code for the 35 web apps, but the human identifies the market problems those apps actually need to solve.
It's a staggering achievement to synthesize. Let's look at the totality of this 25-day sprint. One person, from March 5 to March 30, built out 14 distinct tech categories.
14 categories.
They orchestrated an Agentic OS with 169 Python tools and 65 skills. They built 35 separate web apps. They indexed 1.88 million files.
And digested 178,000 past conversations.
To give their AI perfect historical memory, they deployed WhatsApp bots, video pipelines, academic tools, and a fully automated freelance sales pipeline that runs 24 hours a day. All of this was architected by one person in exactly 25 days using Claude Code AI.
The documentation they left behind really proves that the technical execution of complex software is rapidly being commoditized.
Completely.
The barrier to entry isn't massive capital or a huge team size anymore. It's system architecture and workflow design.
The new competitive advantage isn't how fast you can type code, it's how clearly you can direct and manage an AI workforce.
That's exactly it.
But, this raises a massive question about the technological ecosystem we are building. We look at this 25-day sprint and marvel at the incredible leverage of this one senior-level freelancer.
Yeah, it's impressive, but
But what happens to the on-ramp for everyone else? If a single architect can spawn an infinitely patient, highly competent AI engineering team to handle all the coding, all the QA testing, and all the documentation.
what happens to the entry-level jobs?
Exactly. What happens to the junior developer jobs?
It's a critical structural tension in the labor market right now. We are rapidly automating the exact foundational tasks that historically taught beginners how to eventually become experts.
Exactly. If the junior roles disappear because an agentic OS can do the work for fractions of a cent, how do we ever train the next generation of senior architects?
It's a paradox.
Who writes the global rules when no one has ever learned to write a local rule? It's something to really mull over the next time you use AI to speed through a complex project.
Will we even buy software in the future? Or will we just ask our AI to generate a custom app for whatever problem we have that day?
Exactly. The tools are undeniably there, the leverage is incredible, but the ripples this level of automation creates in the workforce are just beginning to surface.